Hello, it's Chrysalie, and this is my first video tutorial thing. So, yay, you're seeing my face for the first time, which I know is kind of weird. Haven't really done this before. I hope you enjoy this video. This one is going to be about digital art and what you need to know, well, from my personal experience, because I'm not a professional. But I have learned many things in my quest for digital artness things. So here we go. These are my tips and some techniques for digital art. Digital art 101! Woo! Tip number 1, tools. So when I first started out in digital art, the first thing I needed was tools. So here's a list of what you're going to need. You're going to need a tablet. You're going to need a computer. And you're going to need an art program, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Yay, it's later! So, the biggest thing that you're going to need, which is probably the most important, aside from a computer, is an art program. Now, which one you choose is a really big decision. I first used Microsoft Paint. Microsoft Paint! Do not start with Microsoft Paint. Why? Because you don't have layers, you don't have opacity settings, and all the brushes are really pixely and poopy and ugh. So, if you want to go on a better route and not go through the Microsoft Paint voyage of death and pain, please don't use it, okay? Okay, so what I use is GIMP. GIMP is a free software that you can download on the internet, which I'll probably put a link in the description that you can download. And also I use Fire Alpaca, which is really good for line art, which I love because the brushes are so smooth and perfect and natural when you're doing line art. So that covers the program part. Tablets. Tablets are amazing. Basically, they are an input device that replaces your mouse. So you have the pen part of it, and this hooks up to your computer because I don't have the wireless pack for this. You use the pen stylus thing, and you can draw with it. And it's super useful and super duper awesome, and it's a lot better than a mouse. Trust me. Using a mouse is just kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing. What? And it's all jaggedy, and if you get twitchy a lot, it just goes, and you're like, no, don't do that. So, which tablet you're gonna get? I don't know. Honestly, I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not God. I don't know this thing. I don't. So, what are you gonna need to know to get your tablet? You're gonna know what grade, what computer you have, okay? So, a lot of different tablets have different software that goes with different computers, and some tablets work better with other computers, and you need to research that. And honestly, I think, in my opinion, which you do not have to follow, Wacom is the best because it's kind of a universal program and tablets that are just amazing and they're perfect. And I've had this thing for about a year. I've dropped it. I have spilled stew on it. I've put iced tea on it and paint, and it's perfect and I love it. It is my life. So, if you are just starting out in digital art, I would suggest something cheaper that you're not going to get attached to, because my first one cost $80 and it was utter crap. It was the crappiest tablet I ever had, and I will never go back. Never. So that made me learn how important it is to have such good equipment for digital art. It was good for learning how to use it, but now that I know how to use it and I kind of reached out a bit, you need a better tablet. And it is amazing. I love it. Okay, so that covers tablets. But what about computers? So, when you do digital art, you're going to need a really good computer, but it doesn't have to be like billion-dollar computer that's giant and ridiculous and ridiculously light and ridiculously powerful. You just need a computer that is an actual computer, not one of those weird tablet keyboard things, because they do not have the firepower to run the tablet programs or the art programs or any program that you want to use for digital art. So you're going to need an actual laptop computer that has enough RAM and enough space to store all your photos and your work in progress images and all the software that you need. So I would suggest something around the 500 gigabyte range for memory, and I think that's what my current computer is. I just got a new one. It's amazing and I love it a lot. It's so good. Okay. I had an old computer which I have misplaced. It's from 2007 and it's a Dell and it weighs like 15 pounds and it's really heavy and it was super slow, but it had an amazing screen. You're gonna want a big screen because big screen equals better graphics. Better graphics equals better art. If you can see what you're doing, what you are doing will be better. Trust me. I just got this new Mac and I love it. It is beautiful. It has this 21-inch screen and I can see everything. It's so amazing. So, big screen. Yay! So, that's pretty much all you're gonna need on your computer front. So, and I'm not that tech savvy about this stuff, just about the art stuff. So I would consult other people who know more about this because I'm just a teenager and my brain does not have room for all this. So, research! Yay! Research is the best! Tip number 2, layers. Layers, 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 layers are amazing. Okay, so, and better lighting! Yay! So what are layers? Layers are a way for you to, well, layer images on top of each other in your art program. And they are amazing. So there are 5 layers that you're going to need for an average piece. You're going to need your sketch, and then on top of that you're going to have your background, then your colors, your shading, and then your line art. Line art is one of the most important steps in the process, along with sketching. So we're going to get into that a little later. So, tip for line art really quick, you're going to want to use a program that has really good, really accurate brush strokes that have varying thicknesses according to how you move your stylus on your tablet. So I would suggest using Fire Alpaca. So, because I will show you in a minute right about now. Here we are in Fire Alpaca. So what you're going to do is File, open a sketch. What do I have? Okay. So you're going to open up your sketch. This one's kind of shaded for no reason because why not? So what you're going to do here, and it's going to be all one color, and then you set the opacity so it is not completely see-through. Then you make a new layer. It's going to be transparent, and this is going to be your line art layer. See here that not every line is perfect, and every line has varying thicknesses, and this is why I love this program so much. Okay, I'm using my mouse right now, so you don't really get that varying thickness. But when you use your tablet, you get these beautiful, nice tapering off lines, which are very natural and look very good when it's all finished. Now this piece isn't my best, so I will not go any further on this one. So that about covers it on line art. Sketch part. Excuse me. So I used a grid to sketch from this reference image that I got off the internet. So as you can see, I was able to line up parts of the picture to my sketch, which is very useful when you're trying to get as realistic as possible without cheating via a tracing image, which is a really poopy thing to do, and I actually did that a couple times, and I don't feel good about that. So what you're going to do is you're going to use the grid points as references to where you are going to start your sketch. Usually I start with doing the outline, and then I fill in the bigger parts, and then I get smaller and smaller into the details, which is very useful, and I enjoy doing that a lot. So that's just a little quick intro to how to sketch. And by the way, you should keep your sketching lines very loose and not very organized, but then you can go back and clean up your sketch if you want. But this is just to get the main stuff down and be able to make your line art. A little further in-depth part of doing layers in your piece. So you should always have a signature of some sort that will mark this art piece as yours. That's just a quick little tip. Okay, so the main part is you're gonna need different layers. So if I strip away the lines, the shading, and the colors, and the background, you get the initial sketch that I made. Now, I was going to use this for my sketching part of this video, but then I couldn't find the reference as well reference. So, as you can see, I first made the line art, which as you can see is going to be a little different than your sketch. You can edit your sketch or your line art to have them line up better if you want. But usually I kind of fiddle around with it in the line art part of my process. And then you put in the colors. Now, some people stop here, and that really bugs me because I see a lot of potential in this piece right now for more shading and a lot more color and a lot more life in it. And that is why I shade so much. I love deep shading. Deep shading is the bomb. So when you're shading, I usually make a separate layer just for it. And to get it confined to just one space, you use the magic wand tool on your color. So then, what did I do? What did I just do? Okay, so just selecting the skin color, then you go to the shading layer, and then you can do all the crap you want, but it doesn't show up on any of the other sections. So that's a big thing right there. So, and then after you're done with your shading and all that, you're gonna make a background, which I went a little overboard on the pixelation on this one. So, that's about it on the layers. I hope you enjoyed this little tip on layers and how you can use them. Tip number 3. References, references, references. I love references. References are basically images that you can get off the internet or take photos yourself, and then you can draw what you see in that image. Now, in one of my previous tips, I talked about drawing from a reference using a grid or such. Not using a grid, it's a lot harder because you have no reference points for your reference. So now I'm going to do a screen video about some references and what you should look for in a reference. Choosing a reference, you want to find a relatively attractive pose for the character or whatever you're going to be drawing. So, a lot of mine are Doctor Who, so I apologize for that. No, I don't. Doctor Who is amazing, and I shouldn't apologize for that. So, a lot of them are Matt Smith. I apologize again because I love Matt Smith. He's adorable, and he's really fun to draw. So, when you go looking for a reference, you want to find a relatively attractive pose of the character. If it's not a very attractive pose, it's not going to be very fun to draw it because you're going to be staring at it for a couple hours and you don't want to get bored of looking at one picture. So, you should find one that has a pretty good quality that you can resize or edit if you want to. And you should find, also something that's really fun is to find a really cool color palette. Like this one, which I recently painted, and it was super fun to do because the lighting was really interesting with the golden light hitting him from one point. So that's really fun to do with a really interesting view on it with cool lighting. So I got some other reference photos of the actual same image, but also something you want to avoid is having really pixely pictures. Because pixely pictures equals bad, 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 bad. Because when it gets all pixely like that, it means that when you sample colors to paint, which I'm going to talk about maybe in the next video, it's not as accurate. Because when people save it as a JPEG, which is not one on my bucket list to do, save an image as a JPEG, it pixelizes everything. It saves everything as groups of pixels. So if you look at like small photos, you get really pixely images. And it's just, ugh, it's all my pet peeve. It's a pet peeve of mine. So try and find a good, high-quality image that you can blow up or shrink without too much trouble on the pixel front. And also, I would try and find interesting poses and interesting angles and really cool color palettes, like on some of my examples that I showed you. Picking a reference, it's so much fun, and Google search is great for that. Also, what you're going to do with these is going to be amazing. If you use reference, it's going to be beautiful. I can't wait to see all you guys' like art and things. It's going to be so cool. Tip number 4, experiment. Experimenting is one of the most fun aspects of being an artist. You get to grow and find new ways to make art in different ways. And it's super fun, and I love it. Experimenting is one of my favorite things to do. You can experiment with your style. You could try like looking up different tutorials online about different ways to do what you're currently doing. Like my current way of painting hair, which is using layers of different colors. That was inspired by a video that I saw on DeviantArt, and it was amazing, and now I use it for everything, and it's super useful. So don't be afraid to look up different videos, it don't have to be mine, for experimenting on your art, and it's super fun. I would really, really, really recommend experimenting with your style and how you draw, and like try different drawing platforms, try different like brushes, try different programs. By the way, programs, I'm going to put some of the programs that I use in the description for linking and like a link for that. I'm sorry, I can't talk today. For downloading them. So get arting! Arting is amazing! Art, 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 art! I apologize if this is a bit crappy video because it's my first video. So no haters, please. That'd be great. Okay, so I'll see you guys next time. Please subscribe, and if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the magical comment box on the YouTubes, U-Space, on the internets, interwebs. This is Chrysalie, signing off.